Welcome to Security Weekly. We're recording live at DerbyCon. I'm Matt Alderman, and I am joined by Joe Gray. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So you just finished your session.
Yes.
Which I thought was an interesting topic, social engineering Fortune 500 company. Can you give us kind of an overview of what you just talked about?
Sure. So there were a lot of fundamental concepts involved, like better OSINT makes better social engineering, take the time. But what I really spent a lot of time working with would be the differences between a mom and pop company and a large publicly traded Fortune 500 companies. So you could assume that a Fortune 500 company, publicly traded, they're subjected to things like Sarbanes-Oxley, possibly FFIEC, something like that. They're mandated to have certain security requirements. They're not mandated to do them well, but they're mandated to do them. They may have better defenses. They may have gate guards. They may have fences. A mom and pop company with 75 employees may not have that. But that makes it easier for the mom and pop in some cases. But when you talk about large companies that have 500,000 employees, the chances of someone knowing the person you're spoofing or claiming to be is very low. So I talked a lot about those concepts and the fact that because those companies are so large, there's just a trove of information on the internet about them.
Right, because you have public data available about them, maybe employee profiles, you have all kinds of social media accounts, other things, right? So it's potentially easier to find out information about a Fortune 500 company than maybe the mom and pop, where you can't get all that public information.
Right, if they're not public, like with a mom and pop company that's not publicly traded, they don't have to do SEC Form 10K,
right? Which
is a brilliant source of information.
So then so you get this data, as a penetration tester, right? How do you leverage that data then on how you would approach attacking one of those large companies? What are some of those just things people should know about to really kind of safeguard themselves?
So when you're dealing with the larger companies, you expect that they're going to have defenses. You try to enumerate that as much as possible. Are they using like Sender Policy Framework, domain keys, identified mail, or domain message authentication and reporting compliance, basically SPF, DKIM, and DMARC? Are they using those? Are they using tools like Proofpoint or Mimecast? What do you have to go against? I mean, you can set up a Dovecot instance on a cloud server or wherever, send a spoofed email to a mom and pop place, and more than likely nothing's going to stop it. You really can't do that with some of the larger companies. So I introduced my concept of battle dialing for enumerating phone numbers, names, titles, voices, accents, gender. There's the gender ambiguous names like Tracy. To enumerate that, you don't want to call someone and claim to be Tracy and Tracy be the opposite gender.
Right.
But then also I talked a lot about, I use squatting. So like for apple.com, for example, it may be AAPLE.com or APP1E.com or something like that, or the .us to their .com. So it looks real enough to get through, but at the same time, you're not spoofing anything, so you're not setting off any alarms. And then using like Google or Office 365 because of the inherent trust to mail.google.com and mail.outlook.com.
Right. So those are all those little techniques that you can use to kind of, because once you understand and you can get yourself in the door as impersonating somebody, then they start to trust you. And when they start to trust you, they start to give you more data that you can now leverage. So
exactly.
Yeah.
You've got to have your initial data that you gather from OSINT to be able to have the dossier on them, but also build the rapport and get into your character. But then once you're in, you need to refine that information to be able to get your pivoting done. I shared a story during my talk about a time that I bought the .us to the .com of a company. They were beating their chest about how they were going to catch me and I wasn't going to be successful, and how I squatted, sent it in using Google, because that whole process is under $25 to buy 2 domains, a cloud droplet or instance or whatever your provider is for a month, and then the Google. It's under $25, but I bypassed everything. I got in. I got blocked 3 hours in, but that's not before I had over 80 emails sent, and 40% of those had given me the information. And the global average right now, according to the ITSR, if I recall correctly, is about 13%. So taking that extra time, I collected some OSINT. I knew that their CEO was about to retire and their COO was taking over. So I went and I found press releases and took direct quotes out of them and put into the email. They used a specific term for their employees. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Like teammates or
I think it was
team
like
members
owner-operator or something
okay.
like that. It was something to that effect. Like with Walmart, for example, all their employees are called associates.
Right.
Home office is called home office. It's not headquarters, it's home office.
Right.
It's like the guy that was on Security Weekly that time and thwarted a fish to his company because they said the state of Massachusetts, not the Commonwealth.
Right.
So
all
thing.
those little things, right?
It's the little things.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And within that story, that I was highly successful. They blocked me, so forth and so on. But to make it worse, that email address got added to several internal sensitive mailing lists, and I was receiving email for the CEO. A few weeks later, when I went to I logged in to check to make sure nothing was there before I deleted it, and took me a while to scrape my jaw off the floor. But then I forwarded it to my point of contact, and I'm not going to repeat what he said. I mean, it could make a sailor blush.
So any recommendations for Fortune 500 companies that you can kind of provide maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Train your employees. Do more than your single annual training. Do it quarterly. Make it easy to digest. It doesn't need to be an hour long. It doesn't need to be 8 hours. 15, 20 minutes. What's relevant, what they've been seeing. Gamify it so that if someone stops something or they report something, have some sort of competition. Because if you introduce competition, people will sell out their own spouse, their own kids, their parents, their siblings, everybody. They will sell anyone out to win that competition. But taking it a step further, make sure that you incorporate this into your incident response plan. So while you might have something for, say, DDoS, ransomware, or whatever, you should be prepared to respond to something relative to phishing, vishing, baiting, dumpster diving, whatever.
Right.
And then I would say probably the final piece would be just train, and run your own phishing engagements, whether you use an automated tool or you contract someone to do it. Do the test, condition. At the end of the day, you're trying to condition your employees to be used to it,
Right.
And
so they don't fall for it, right?
Keep them skeptical.
Yeah.
And don't be throwing softballs all the time like the Nigerian princes or the Microsofts. Do on a scale from 1 to 10, do something at like a level 7 or 8. You don't have to do it all the time. You could throw some softballs, but you need to benchmark it. You need to know where it is, and don't expect to wholly avoid it. So be prepared, because it's not if, it's when.
Got it. If anybody wants to see Joe's presentation, you can check it out on DerbyCon.